Okay, so let's try and unpack this for you. There was some pretty big news recently, landed hard and fast.
Yeah.
Job Corps centers, these places that have been really important for vocational training for young people, well, they suddenly closed. Just poof, gone.
Just like that. And we're talking thousands of students, right? Many, like, right in the middle of their training programs.
Exactly. In the middle of getting skills they thought were setting them up for, a better future, and then they're just told, time to leave.
It was incredibly abrupt. The SOC material we looked at from places like Detroit, Oregon, Memphis, it really paints a picture of, well, chaos.
Absolutely. So we dove into those reports trying to understand the human cost first,
Yeah.
and then the why, the reasons they gave for the closures, and, the broader concerns people raised.
Right.
But we also found some, pretty interesting stuff that kind of flips the script a little, talks about different ways to build a career now.
Alternative path.
Yeah. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to walk you through that sudden reality for the students, look at the reasons given for the shutdown, understand the wider context and the worries, and then, pivot to look at these alternative opportunities, the material highlights.
Okay.
So let's start right there on the ground, the immediate impact.
Well, the word that just keeps jumping out from these reports is sudden. Like almost zero warning for these young people. In Detroit, the scene described is pretty vivid. You've got students like Carlton Davis told at, 1:30 in the afternoon, pack your bags, you're leaving.
1:30 p.m., just pack your bags. And the reports mention seeing, dozens of kids lugging garbage bags full of their stuff.
Garbage bags.
Not suitcases, garbage bags. That detail just, it really hits hard about how little time they had.
It really does.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, packing up meant, well, they didn't have a definite place to go next. Some were waiting for parents driving hours to get them.
Yeah.
Others literally putting their things in the trunk of a car because that was the only space. The vulnerability is just striking.
Yeah.
There's one story about an 18-year-old, Cameron, in Detroit, described as just dazed, no place to live. His mom had passed away. His dad's in jail.
Oh, wow.
Job Corps was supposed to be his place, his path forward.
And it affects the families too, right? That story about Carlton's mother, Tiffany Davis, debating canceling her breast cancer surgery.
Yeah, surgery is scheduled for the next week.
Yeah.
Just so she could figure out what to do for her son.
Yeah. And in Memphis, that mother, Rochelle Nolan, just heartbroken, talking about kids left behind with, literally no one.
No support system at all.
It's devastating. And many were right in the middle of getting certified for something specific.
Exactly. Losing that training. One student wanted a CMA certification, certified medical assistant. That's a solid entry into healthcare.
Yeah.
And suddenly, nope, it's gone. They felt like the rug was just pulled out, feeling like it's a dead end, or now they're just in survival mode.
And the communication, or lack thereof. Rochelle Nolan in Memphis said she never got any official word from Job Corps, found out from her daughter.
Yeah, that just speaks to the chaos of it all, not just for the students, but for parents, everyone trying to figure out what on earth was going on.
Okay, so that's the immediate fallout. Pretty rough. What about the why? What was the official reason given for shutting down centers nationwide like this?
Well, the sources seem to point the finger pretty directly at recent budget cuts, specifically hitting the Department of Labor.
The DOL, right. They oversee Job Corps.
Exactly. And the official statement, according to these reports, was that they're pausing operations across the country to align with President Trump's 2026 budget proposal.
Okay, and the goal they stated was?
To achieve meaningful results for both students and taxpayers. That was the phrase used.
Meaningful results. Okay.
And they also flat out said that Job Corps wasn't, quote, fiscally viable.
Not viable. Did they give numbers?
Yeah, the reports mentioned some figures. The program costing around $1.7 billion a year.
Billion, with a B.
Yeah. And the average cost per student who completes the program was cited around $80,000. The cost per enrollee, just anyone who signed up, regardless of how long they stayed, was around $50,000.
Okay, $80K per graduate, $50K per enrollee, $1.7 billion total. That sounds significant.
It does. But here's where it gets, complicated. The sources immediately bring up counterpoints, questions about those numbers and that whole viability claim.
Okay. So it wasn't just accepted at face value.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There's a quote from a Job Corps deputy director, Jessica Richter. She basically pushes back saying, look, if you saw our facilities, you'd know we're struggling. Can't afford basic things sometimes, using outdated materials, working with really limited budgets. She suggested those viability numbers might be based on old data or just didn't reflect the reality of running these places on a shoestring.
So someone inside the system is questioning the official justification. That's interesting.
Yeah. And another report mentioned messages from current or former employees. They were kind of questioning how the centers were managed financially, sort of implying maybe internal issues made them easy targets for cuts.
Okay, so it's not a simple picture. There's the official line about budget and viability, but also pushback and questions about how things are actually run.
Definitely. Conflicting views on the program's financial health, for sure.
Let's maybe zoom out for a sec. For anyone listening who isn't super familiar, what is Job Corps, fundamentally? And why is its closure such a big deal, especially given who it serves?
Right. So at its heart, Job Corps is federally funded. It's designed to give young people, usually aged 16 to 24, a comprehensive package: education, hands-on work training, and help finding a job afterwards.
And the reports make it really clear these aren't just any young people looking for training. They often come from, well, really difficult backgrounds.
Troubled homes, unstable living situations, maybe unsafe ones, or sometimes they just don't have any family support to fall back on.
There was that quote from Pastor Mo in Detroit.
Right. He made a really important point. He said these are often kids trying to avoid getting caught in a crime. Not necessarily kids already in the system, but kids actively looking for a way out, a positive path.
So it's not just about job skills. It's a lifeline, a safety net for a really vulnerable group who are trying to build a different future against some serious odds. And that safety net was just yanked away.
Exactly. And that's the huge concern that comes through in the sources. Okay, where do these kids go now? What happens to them? Short-term, long-term.
Yeah, you see calls for help mentioned.
Yeah.
That mother hoping foundations might step up.
Right, come to the rescue. And in Memphis, a direct plea for the city to get involved, find another avenue for hope for these young people.
And the political angle is there too, reported neutrally, of course. You have a senator urging them to reconsider so students don't fall through the cracks. And then a congressman framing it as, Job Corps being a great society program started under Lyndon Johnson and suggesting President Trump is trying to dismantle it, like other social programs.
So you have that political dimension layered on top of the human impact and the financial debate.
It's a really challenging picture overall. Programs serving a vital need, shut down over disputed financial reasons, huge consequences for vulnerable kids, political context swirling around.
It really is.
And this is where one of those sources we looked at takes a really interesting turn.
Yeah.
While the physical Job Corps campuses might be closing, this source argues that opportunity itself hasn't just vanished.
Okay. So the idea is that training and careers are still possible, just maybe not through that specific model anymore.
Exactly. The location or the way you get there might be changing. And this is where, honestly, it gets really interesting for anyone trying to figure out career paths now.
Okay, I'm listening.
This material points towards alternatives, things like registered apprenticeships, state licensed tracks, and the big thing. Often they pay you while you're learning, not like traditional college debt.
Right. Earn while you learn. That's a powerful model. And the source gets specific, right?
Yeah.
Across different fields.
Oh, yeah. Let's dive into some. Take digital and tech. It talks about becoming a data analyst.
Okay.
Programs might take about a year, learning things like SQL for databases, how to build dashboards, and then you're looking at starting salaries potentially in the $60,000 to $90,000 range.
Wow, okay. That's solid.
And HR systems apprenticeships. Mentioned starting mid-5 figures, but potentially heading 6 figures in under 3 years. Cybersecurity, 2 big companies, defense contractors sometimes sponsor these, leading to 6-figure potential once you get certified.
So high-demand tech skills with pathways that don't necessarily require a 4-year degree up front.
Seems like it. And for those who liked the hands-on stuff at Job Corps, construction, welding, that kind of thing, the skilled trades are presented as a huge alternative.
Makes sense. Always need skilled tradespeople.
Totally. Like union electrician apprenticeships. You start out earning maybe $18 to $30 an hour while learning. Then, as a journeyman, $45 plus an hour, easy. Often more.
Plus benefits, right? Pensions, healthcare, overtime.
Exactly. And the source says similar paths exist for HVAC, techs, plumbers, welders. You learn on the clock, earn more as you progress, and can definitely clear 6 figures once you've mastered the trade. Real hands-on work.
Okay, what about people who like numbers or maybe sales negotiation?
Good question. The business and finance section highlights things like insurance sales. Getting the state license isn't crazy expensive, maybe a few $100. It's commission, yeah, but top agents, they can clear six figures.
Requires hustle, I bet.
Big time. Same with real estate. You can get licensed at 18. Potential for high commissions is there. The source stresses discipline, mastering your pitch.
Gotcha. And healthcare. Since Job Corps had medical training, any alternatives mentioned?
Yep. Healthcare apprenticeships, surgical tech programs, maybe 12, 18 months, leading to jobs in the 50, 70K range, plus overtime potential.
Okay.
Medical coding is another one mentioned. Potential for remote work there, scaling up towards maybe $60.
Remote work is a big draw for many. What about logistics? That was a Job Corps area too, right?
Yeah. In logistics, it talks about becoming a freight broker. This sounds more entrepreneurial.
How so?
You need to get federal authority, like a license, and finance a surety bond. Startup costs estimated at maybe $1,500 to $3,000.
Okay. Still less than a year of college tuition for many.
Right. And the potential payoff. The source mentions $10,000 to $30,000 a month, connecting shippers with carriers. Needs Wi-Fi and serious hustle, basically.
That's significant potential for a self-starter.
Definitely framed that way. Also mentioned the power and telecom sector. Line and apprenticeships starting $20, $30 an hour, topping out over $45, plus big bumps during storms or emergencies.
And fiber optic splicers, too. High demand there.
Yeah, says they earn premium rates. And one more, kind of different drone pilots.
Oh, interesting. Get your Part 107 certificate takes weeks, not years. And pilots can apparently earn $50 to $150 an hour doing various jobs.
So across all these fields, tech, trades, finance, healthcare, logistics, even drones, the common theme seems to be, what?
Well, according to the source, it's often paid learning, potential for six-figure income with focus, relatively recession-proof work, and maybe more autonomy. They call them freedom jobs, less corporate micromanagement.
Freedom jobs,
So, putting it all together, this sudden Job Corps news, paired with these alternative path ideas, what does it all mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think whether you were, directly impacted by a closure or you're just trying to figure out your own career path in today's world, understanding this whole situation is really valuable.
How so?
It shows, first, how established systems can change unexpectedly, like really fast. But second, it highlights that there isn't just one single path anymore. There are multiple ways to get good skills and achieve, financial independence. Exactly. This deep dive, I think, shows that even though a program closing like Job Corps is, well, devastating for those relying on it, the actual need for skilled workers, that hasn't gone away.
Right.
And maybe the ways people acquire those skills are just becoming more diverse. Paid apprenticeships, licensing, things outside the traditional college or government program box.
Yeah, it definitely challenges that old assumption that you have to go down one specific route, whether that's a specific federal program or even a 4-year degree, to have a successful career. There are other ways.
So just to recap for everyone, we looked at the really abrupt and painful reality for those Job Corps students. We explored the reasons given for the shutdown and the debates around those reasons. We touched on the big concerns for this vulnerable group.
And then we dove into that whole range of alternative options highlighted in the source's paid training, apprenticeships, licensing across a lot of different fields.
It's definitely a challenging moment, especially for the young people directly affected. But the sources do offer this other perspective, these alternative ways forward.
Yeah, they do.
And, maybe the biggest skill someone gains from a disruption like this, it isn't necessarily the specific trade they were learning at Job Corps. Maybe it's the resilience you have to build.
Resilience.
Yeah, like having to figure out a new plan when the original one just disappears overnight. And it seems like understanding this whole landscape of paid training options, knowing what's out there, that's probably pretty key to building that resilience, right? Finding that new path.
That's a really interesting thought there. Resilience and knowing your options.